doing? I hope you're doing great. Alright, I want to welcome each and every one of you to Checkpoint once again. I'm your host, Pastor Ifeoma Eze, and I'm excited to have you here with me today. I'd like you at this moment to begin to share this video. Alright, let everyone know that I'm live here and ready for you today. And most importantly, I'd like to appreciate each and every person who has been with us in this journey. Thank you for your likes, thank you for your shares, thank you for your comments. They are making us happy and allowing our message to go faster and further. Alright, we will be having a very swell time on Checkpoint today. So I'd like you to get set because it's going to be a very, very interesting topic today. Alright, I'd like you to ride with me as I introduce the topic for today. Alright, welcome back. This is Checkpoint once again, and I'm your host, Pastor Ifeoma Eze. I'd like you to share this video, start a watch party, make sure somebody is joining, and most importantly, please subscribe on our YouTube channel. Alright, today, our topic today is a very, very interesting one, and it says why some good girls fall in love with bad guys. Let me say it again. The topic for today is why some good girls fall in love with bad guys. We have seen situations where we meet people who are around us, we meet friends and family, and we are like, oh, why did such a good girl fall in love with such a terrible guy? Now, I must say this very emphatically, not all men are bad. Of course, I married a nice one, my dad was a nice one, and I have a lot of nice guys around me, but there are some bad guys. We cannot dispute that fact. And most importantly, there are also some good guys, all right? So now, there are also bad girls. But my focus, the focus of today's telecast is not for the good guys, is not for the good girls. My focus is why some, not all, why some good girls fall in love with the bad guys. I want to focus on that. So if you are watching, please don't forget the context from which I am speaking, because it is a very, very specific topic. I'm not talking about all the good guys out there. I hail all the good guys. I appreciate you for who you are and for what you do. I celebrate you. But my focus today is on the bad guys. If you're not a bad guy, let me know in the comment section. Alright, so my focus is on the bad guys and why these good girls fall in love with the bad guys. So we've seen people around us, friends, family, sisters, who eventually got married to somebody who was not good for them at all. Okay, they suffered so much in the relationship, they suffered so much in the marriage. Many of such marriages have eventually come to an end. Many of such relationships are broken, and some of them are suffering and struggling at the moment. And we ask ourselves, why did such a good girl fall in love with a bad guy? So I must also say that in life, certain things happen, things we did not plan for, things we did not foresee, challenges of life, issues of life. They come to us unprepared. They come to us because we did not see any of these things coming. But in the midst of all of that, it is very necessary and very important that you do all the right things you are supposed to do, and then trust God for the ones that you cannot handle. A wise man once said that it is wisdom to know what you can change and know what you can't change. So look at the things you can change and change them by all means, by every strength and stamina in you. But you see, the ones that you cannot change, there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. So on Checkpoint, our focus is on those things that you can change, those things you can make a difference in. Alright, so we want to see how these good girls can make a difference and stop choosing or falling in love with the bad guys. Are you ready for this ride? Let's shoot. Alright, point number one I'd like to share on why some good girls fall in love with the bad guys is that some of them are not aware of who they are. Some of them are not aware of who they are. It is a very important principle, especially when as it relates to relationship, that you know who you are. Know your strengths, know your capabilities, know your weaknesses, know your limits, know your boundaries. See, every human being you see anywhere, they have limits. they have boundaries. You might say this is a good guy or this is a good girl, but once you get to that boundary and you cross it with them, you will see an angel quickly turn into a monster. Why? Because this is the person's boundary. This is the person's limit. That's why I tell a lot of ladies that when you go into a relationship, most importantly, you should not fall in love with somebody you cannot. If you're a lady, don't fall in love with somebody you cannot submit to. All right? So as a guy, don't fall in love with a lady that you will not love for the rest of your life. Because if what brought you to the person are just the looks, the boobs, the curves, the broad shoulders, and the money, it won't take time. You will fall out of love. So it's important that you are aware of who you are, know your limits, and know the kind of person you can marry. Growing up as a young girl, my father did a lot of work on me, and my mother nurtured me and made me strong. That strength was not just strength, physical strength, it was mental strength. Strength that made me know who I am and what I can achieve, and that there are no limits to who I can be. This bred a lot of confidence in me growing up as a child. So I wasn't a timid child. I could have been shy maybe as a girl, but I was not timid in any way. I had confidence, and because of that confidence, I was able to go out and represent my school in a lot of competitions, especially quiz competitions, things that had to do with the mind. This investment in me eventually culminated in who I eventually became. That is why I always tell people, know who you are. Because when you know who you are, you'll be able to know who you can get married to. You'll be able to know who you can be in a relationship with. Having known that about myself, I knew something. I knew that I could not marry somebody I was more intelligent than, in quotes. I could not marry somebody who, when I'm talking about A, the person is talking about O or Z or not making sense, all right? So I knew this was going to be that boundary, that limit, that place I was not willing to cross. So it's important that you know this for yourself. I told myself, well, somebody I was going to marry was somebody who was going to be intelligent, somebody who was going to be smart, and somebody who was also going to be more spiritual than I was. Because I knew myself, it was easy for me to know what I wanted. Many people, they only know what they want. Some of them feel they know what they want, but not everybody know themselves. The first key in self-awareness is that you have to know yourself. When you know yourself, only then can you know what you want and what is necessary for your journey. Let me give you this example. As soon as I come to you and I say, oh friend, I'd like us to hike, all right? Let's go on a hike on the mountain by the side. What kind of thing will you pack in your bag? Would you pack a stiletto shoe? Will you pack a high-heeled shoe? Will you pack a very heavy bag? Are you going to wear a dinner gown? What kind of thing are you going to pack in your bag? Are you going to pack sweaters? Because I just told you we are going on a hike. And a hike, certainly you're going to sweat. All right? Certainly you need to move fast. Certainly you need to have your feet firm on the ground. So these things I mentioned are obviously not necessary for this hike. Now, why were you able to pack right for this hiking I talked about? Because you knew where we were going to. That is why you were able to pack well. In the same vein, if you know who you are, it will be easy for you to know who you can be in a relationship with. A lot of people have gotten involved with people that they have no business being around, and because of that, their life has gone to ground zero. I always advise people, when you know you are not very smart, please look for somebody smarter than you. Don't try to become a one-eyed king in the kingdom of blind people. All right? So get somebody who challenges you in a positive way. Get somebody who you are able to compete with in a healthy way. Not competition in the sense that, oh, I'm going to win, I'm going to be better, I'm going to be smarter. No. Somebody that when you look at, oh, he's about to read, oh, I have to read. We need to upgrade, we need to get better. So I can understand his scope. So I can understand what he's saying. Because, oh, as a minister, I always tell people who are ministers, don't be a spiritual giant and marry a spiritual dwarf. So this is not going to work in the relationship. There will be a lot of issues, there will be a lot of misunderstandings. All this will happen because you don't know who you are. So when you know who you are, you'll be able to recognize the right people. And this is the basic reason why people good girls, especially some good girls, fall in love with bad guys. If you know you're a good girl, know who you are. Know what you can tolerate. All right, know your strengths, know your weakness, and marry somebody who will complement your weaknesses. All right, don't be a hot-tempered person and then you go and marry a hot-tempered person. Have you heard of the couple that both killed themselves? This one stabbed the other one, this one stabbed the other one. Nobody could come to their rescue, and both of them bled to death. They killed themselves. And then when the police came along, they thought these armed robbers had invaded them. But then, unfortunately, it was these two couple that killed themselves, because this one was hot-tempered and this other one was hot-tempered. It is very, very imperative that you understand who you are. Understand your making. Take time. There is no rush in a relationship. Know who you are. Know what you want. All right? That will help you. Before I got married, I met a lot of people who came to be in a relationship with me, but on looking at them or seeing them or hearing them or on observing their behavior, I knew that this person was not good for me, because I know who I am and I know that I cannot tolerate this kind of thing. I cannot live with somebody who is not truthful. I could not live with somebody who is not born again. I remember a particular suitor that came, troubled my life, troubled the life of my parents, the life of my siblings. He was always everywhere, throwing money around, you know. He wanted to make me feel like, I'm missing a lot, because these bundles of money was what he was going to give me much more. In fact, he even said at one time that he was going to buy me a Bora. I don't know if that car is still existing, but there was a particular car that came out newly. The name is Bora. He was going to buy it for me while I was still in school. See, I knew that was not what I wanted. I wanted somebody I would get married to, and together we would build. We'll build, and then we can look back and say, oh, we did this, we built this, we came to this point by ourselves. Not somebody that when I break a single plate, he will look at me and say, do you know how much I bought this plate? I didn't want to live that kind of life. So know who you are, and then it will be easy for you to know who you can get married to. I met a lot of bad guys in quotes. When I say bad, I just mean guys that are bad for you, all right? Some of these guys might even look holy. Some of them might look nice. Some of them might look gentle, but they are bad for you. So when we talk about the bad guys, I'm not talking about guys who are just looking rugged, carrying guns and looking mean. And those are not just the bad guys. Some guys, they are bad guys even though they are nicely dressed on suits. Some guys are bad guys even though they are looking very gentle. Their name might be innocent, but they are truly not innocent. So it's important that you make the right choices. Number 2 reason why some good ladies fall in love with bad guys is because they hate to be alone. Some ladies desperately hate to be alone. They believe that they need somebody in their life to feel alive, to feel happy, to feel like they belong. All right. So instead of them to stay on their own until they get married to the right person, they just fall in love with anybody who comes around them because they don't want to be alone. It is better to wait long than to marry wrong. Let me say it again. It is better to wait long than to marry wrong. Please don't get up and say, oh, I can't be alone. I can't stay alone. This life is too lonely. It's so boring being alone. And then you quickly jump into a relationship with somebody that you know is not headed where you are going to. So it's important, very, very important, that you love yourself. All right? So you can be alone but not be lonely. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. The fact that you're alone does not mean that you have to be lonely. You can engage yourself, make yourself busy. Sometimes, think about it, there are times you have been busy, and at such times you didn't even remember at all that you were alone because you are busy doing something. You are busy developing yourself, you are busy reading a book, you are busy growing in something, you are busy working with your hands. At such moments, you will never remember that you are alone. Remember that the idle hand is the devil's workshop. The devil will always look for work to give the person who is idle. And you cannot afford to fall into that trap. Many ladies hate to be alone. And let me tell you, please, there is nothing wrong with you being alone. There is nothing absolutely wrong with you being alone. You are only single, but not stupid. All right? So don't make stupid decisions because you are single. It is not a curse. It is not a taboo to be single. that the fact that you are single is for a while. God will eventually bring some people your way that will help your life advance and move forward. All right, number 3 reason why some good girls fall in love with bad guys is that they had very abusive fathers. They had fathers that were very abusive, and because of that, they grew under that kind of condition. So they assume that all men are the same. Have you seen ladies who complain about their husbands being too nice or their boyfriends being too nice? It's because they came from a very abusive background. So because of that, they cannot understand or comprehend that a human being is meant to be treated right. I've heard people on Facebook, on social media, say different stuff. And most of the things they say are born out of what they have gone through. It's because they have had abusive fathers, they can tell a lady, oh, please calm down. You're not the only one whose husband is beaten. When your husband beats you, or keep loving him, see, we don't endorse bad behavior. It is not meant to be tolerated. Alright? So because the person who is beating you today, one day might hit you in a place that you will never survive. God did not create you to come here on earth and die prematurely. Premature death can happen to some people, but you are not meant to die in the hand of another person. So please, it is not okay to accept abuse as a norm. It is wrong for you to accept it because of what you have been through. Some ladies have abusive fathers who hit them, fathers who fight them, who tear their mother's clothes in public, who after beating their mothers buy them cars, buy them flowers, and buy them gifts, and they assume that is how life is supposed to be. That is not how life is supposed to be. So when such ladies see other men and they are also doing the same thing, hitting people around, bullying people around, they feel, oh, this is okay. After all, he just looks like my father. That is wrong, dear. Very, very wrong. The fact that your father was abusive all your life does not mean that you also have to get into another relationship that is abusive. There are some men who, they may not physically abuse their spouses or their wives, but they abuse them emotionally, all right? They abuse them verbally. There are men whose mouths can stink. I'm not saying that it's only men. There are women whose mouths are razor and deep sewage tanks, all right? So I'm not gender sensitive here. And remember, I said I'm focusing on a particular aspect, a particular area. So there are some men whose mouths are very, very abusive. I used to have an aunt who experienced that kind of marriage. The man was so vulgar, and when he gets offended or pissed off, he will begin to call every member of my aunt's family and abuse each and every one of them. All right, so these are people who did not even do anything to him, but the moment he's angry, he spreads it to everybody. So he will abuse my aunt's mother, abuse my aunt's father, abuse her siblings, tell them a lot of bad things, and that was a terribly abusive relationship. And now, imagine that you are a little girl growing up in that kind of environment. If you grow up in that kind of environment and then you meet another guy who is also abusive, you say, oh, he might be abusive, but he's not as abusive as my father, and he's just a man like my father. And then you begin to accept such errors. You should not, because they are not meant to be that way. You deserve better. Alright? So look inward and tell yourself that you deserve better. The fact that you had an abusive father does not mean that you have to also have an abusive marriage. Did you get that? Capish? Yeah. Alright, let's consider number 4 reason why some good girls fall in love with bad guys. The number 4 reason is that they don't consider their vision. These girls don't consider their vision. I remember asking a particular young girl some years ago, and I asked her, what is your vision? What plan do you have for your life? What do you want to achieve? And you know what she answered? She said to me, I don't have a vision. I'm not supposed to have a vision. My mother taught me that when I get married, any vision that my husband has will become my vision. It's unfortunate. Very unfortunate and very pitiable too, because this mother didn't know and she transferred her ignorance to the child. How would you live without the vision? See, every human being created by God was created to execute a particular vision. You may not have discovered your vision, but that does not mean that you don't have a vision. there is a vision from God for your life that you have to discover at a particular time. And that is why, if you consider your vision, you'll be able to know if this person is in line with your vision. Do you know, many years ago, before I got married to my husband, I'll be in an interactive this conversation with the suitors that were coming my way, because this is the problem we have with this generation. When young ladies have suitors, the first thing they begin to think of is how sex will be on the bed, instead of thinking about conversations, because as a man thinketh, so he is. The Bible says that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. When you hear a person speak, you'll be able to discern, not 100%, but to a certain degree, you'll be able to know what is in the person's heart. I've met suitors earlier that I had asked questions like, would you like me to work? What is your thought about a woman having a dream, having a vision? And the responses I have gotten from them have proved to me that I had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with some of those guys. So I would just smile, but then I had made my decision. I would just smile, but then I had already made up my mind on whether to see this guy again or not to see him ever again in my life. So for some people, the next time they call, I'm busy, I'm unavailable. When you try, after a while, you give up, because we are not going the same way at all. I've had a particular suitor tell me that, why would you work? Why would you do anything? I have done all the work for you. I have provided all the money for you. All you're going to do is just to come and be eating. And I said, what of my vision? My parents sent me to school for a reason. They trained me in school for a reason. There must be something else I am good for in this on this earth. And he said, you don't need any other thing. Just keep having children and taking care of the children. That is your only life assignment. I just smiled. And he thought that was a smile of approval. That was a smile to say, guy, I'm never going to see you again. And I ran for my dear life. See, don't endorse something you cannot live with. Anything that you know is not good for you, from the beginning, run away from it. Why would you say, if I say no, I'm going to be alone? See, it is better to wait long than to marry wrong. I'm telling you, very better to wait long than to marry wrong. You cannot afford for the story of your life to be told shabbily. Alright? They don't consider their vision. Some of them don't even know what their vision is. And instead of pursuing after your vision, you just give up on life. That lady, I didn't know where to start helping her from, but I had to sit her down and educate her on the necessity of having a vision, on the necessity of having a plan for your future. Vision is just a picture of your preferable future. If you know where you are going to, if you know what you want, it will be easy for you to find or locate somebody who is headed in the same direction that you are headed. When I met my husband, I asked him a lot of questions. At one time, he was almost thinking like he was in an interview. But I wanted to know what his thoughts were on different issues of life. I wanted to know if we had the same perspective on life. See, I understand that some people might give you fake answers. But see, people can't act for too long. They cannot give you fake answers and live a fake life over time. I know some people are actually con artists and very, very good at it, but that is why you need God to help you reveal who the person truly is. Because beyond all the flashy actings of dating, sometimes people can act and pretend for so long, but then you need God to reveal to you who the person truly is. But you have to consider your vision. You have to think about where you are going to. Because, okay, just imagine for 1 minute. There was a particular guy that came around my life when I was still young, before I got married. He was a trader, a clothes trader on the Chame market. All right, so he was doing good. He would always come with different flashy cars. He was coming with different cars to school then as a suitor. And now, whenever he comes around, he's trying to engage me in conversation. I will begin to talk, and there was no middle ground. Okay. He could not understand me, I could not understand him. He could not understand why a girl would be thinking that way, and I could not understand why a full-blown man would be thinking this way. So there was no connection. It was obvious that we had nothing to do. See, his cars notwithstanding, his money notwithstanding, his being a made man notwithstanding, I knew he was not good for me. Many of you out there, you are feeling like, oh mama, you are saying this because you had a choice. You are saying this because you were too young. Listen to me. It is better to wait long than to marry wrong. It doesn't matter about the timing or the season. What is most important is that you don't live a miserable life. Believe you me, there are women with bright visions, with bright ideas, who came into marriage and they became a shadow of themselves. And if you are out there, you are a man listening to me, and you know your wife has a vision. You know your wife has a vision for her life, and you get married to her and then suppress her and make her feel like she's nothing, and make her feel like she's not going anywhere, she's not going to become anything. That is very wicked of you. Read my lips. I say it again. That is very, very wicked of you. Allow her light to shine, because in her glory is your glory. If you are a man and you know who you truly are, you know that your wife is an expression of your personality. She is a picture of your true capacity. I always say that when you want to know if a man is a good man, take a good look at his wife. If you want to know if a man is a nice man, take a good look at his wife. The picture of his wife, the looks of his wife, the confidence level of the wife will tell you if this man is truly a good man. Have you ever seen women who, when they see their husband, they become jittery? They can't talk, they are scared to their feet. But when they are with other people, they are relaxed, they are being themselves. Something is wrong with that person, and there is nothing okay about it. God meant marriage to be enjoyed. Marriage was a gift from God. When he gave us the gift, the Bible says that every good and perfect gift comes from God. So if marriage is a gift, God did not intend marriage to be frustrating and to be painful. All right, let's move on, because I could dwell on this point for too long, but let's move on for the sake of our time. The next point I'd like to talk about, why some good girls fall in love with bad guys, is because some ladies feel that time is no longer on their side. They feel that time is no longer on their side. So they say, oh, mama, relax. Whatever you're saying because you had time, because things worked out for you in time. I know that. But listen to me, even if you are 35 and you are yet to get married, you can get married because you feel that time is no longer on your side, and get married to a very mean, toxic, poisonous guy who will not allow you to live the next 3 years. And then you die at 38 when you're supposed to live a full straight life of 90. So what is the rush for? It is better you wait long than to marry wrong. Don't say, oh, time is no longer on my side, I have to make a quick decision, I have to act smart, I have rejected for 2 months. No, I don't like ladies rejecting guys just for rejecting sake. If you are saying no to a guy, have a concrete reason why. I must also say this. There is nobody that you want, no kind of husband that you desire, that will come in a complete package. I must say this. Because a lot of people say, oh, based on everything she's saying, I have to wait for that Mr. Right, Mr. Perfect to come. There's no Mr. Perfect anywhere. There's no Mr. Right anywhere. What I'm saying is that if this person has at least a prospect, if you look at this person, you know this person has the ideologies. He may not have the money, he may not have the possessions, he may not have the cars you want him to have, but you see that he knows who he is and he knows where he's going to. That's the person to hitch a ride with. That's the person to work with. Alright, you don't have to wait for the person to be perfect all around. When I met my husband, there were certainly some things that he may not have seen in me, and there are certainly some things I did not see in him. But one thing I considered very, very important is that he was very teachable. Now, when I saw that ability of accepting correction, that ability to learn from others, that ability to learn, relearn, and unlearn in him, I told myself, every other thing I wanted could be taken care of. Well, I did not want to get married to somebody who was short, but then height cannot be taught. All right, so you don't say, oh, okay, Mama said we should marry somebody who is teachable. I'm going to meet a short guy and teach him how to be tall, or I'm going to meet a tall guy and teach him how to be short. It doesn't work that way. There are things that are teachable and there are things that are not teachable. When you have seen the things that you want which are not teachable, and you notice that this person is actually teachable, then you can go for the person, because this person may not be in the package that you want, but you can repackage that kind of person. I'm not talking about changing anybody. You can't change anybody. All right. But basically, there are some features, there are some characters, there are some things, attitudes that you see in a person. I know that this person is somebody who can listen, who can improve on whatever he or she is at the moment. So please don't say there's no time, the time is no longer on my side, I have to make a quick decision, because if you rush to Russia, you can be rushed back there. Alright, so it's not about rushing into that marriage. You might rush into that marriage and that marriage will not last. You might rush into that marriage and there will be divorce in that marriage. You might rush into that marriage and then one catastrophe happens in that marriage and your life goes down the drain. So you have to consciously choose right. Alright, wait for the time. There is a time appointed for everyone, and I pray over you. If you are somebody here and you feel you believe in your heart that time is no longer your friend, I pray that God will give you a very quick and fast miracle in the name of Jesus. Let your marriage be sealed by fire. I decree and declare that your paths cross with a path of the person who is meant to be your partner in the name of Jesus. Time will be shortened and compressed on your behalf. If Joshua can look up to the heavens and make the sun to stand and make the sun to stand still, the sun can stand still on your behalf. 2020 can stand still on your behalf until God does what he wants to do in your life. So it's very, very possible. But please never make a decision because you think that time is no longer on your side. Because if you rush into that marriage, believe you me, you may be rushed out. Sometimes dead, sometimes broken, some other times very abused. So please make conscious decision and God will bless you. All right, the next point I'd like to share with you on why some good girls fall in love with bad guys is that number 6, all right? Number 6, they believe that being mean for a guy is a proof of manliness. They believe that when a guy is mean, it is a proof of manliness. You are not beauty, and you shouldn't marry the beast. Let me say it again. Because a lot of cartoons that we have watched growing up have deceived us. You are not beauty. You may be beautiful, but you are not beauty in the cartoon. And you are not meant to marry a beast. Don't forget that beauty, even in the cartoon, did not live with the beast forever. When beauty eventually got married to the beast, what happened? The beast eventually transformed into a young, charming prince. That was why they lived happily ever after. So don't be fooled, all right? Don't be messed up with all of those movies and cartoons that we watch as kids. You are beautiful, but you don't necessarily have to marry a beast. A guy who is mean will be mean to you. A guy who is mean that is not no show of manliness. A man can be a man, a true man, and still be gentle and still be kind. Have you forgotten what our Bible says? That love is kind, love is patient, love endures, love covereth a multitude of sin. If this guy says he loves you, he cannot be mean to you. So don't accept it as if it is right. Don't accept it as if it is normal. All right? I bless the name of God for the parents I had because of that, of the kind of parents I had, I was able to understand the true meaning of marriage, the true meaning of love. And because they had it, I knew it was possible for me to also have it. That is why you, as a growing up person, must be able to leave that legacy for your own children. Leave that legacy for them. Because you, making your marriage work, making your relationship work, will help your children have the confidence to make theirs work in the future. My parents may not have left large estates for us or large expanse of land, but there is something they left that money cannot buy. And that's the legacy of a good marriage. I always call them lovebirds. Before my father went home to meet the Lord last year, I call them lovebirds because wherever you see them, you will always see them together. A marriage that lasted for over 40 years and they were together always till the end. That's the ideal definition of marriage. So if they could have it, you can also have it. If they could have it, I knew that I could have even one that was much better because it's all about confidence. Don't kill the confidence of your children by having a terrible marriage. Because sometimes when we as parents have terrible marriages, we tend to impact the knowledge, negative knowledge to our children. Make them not to believe in marriage, make them to believe that all men are wicked, make them to believe that all women are useless. And these things are gotten because you could not handle your relationship well or you did not have the wisdom to make the right choice. So please don't impart a legacy of negativity when it comes to things of marriage to your children. That is why you have to choose right. And if you have chosen right, that is why you have to make the conscious effort intentionally and deliberately to make sure that you have a very, very good marriage. Meanness is not a proof of manliness. Let me say it again. Meanness is not a proof of manliness. You can be a man and still be gentle. My father was one of the most gentle men I have ever seen on earth. My husband is also one of the most gentle men I have seen on earth. Gentle with words, gentle in kindness, gentle in action and attitude. You don't need to become a beast in the house for everyone to know that you are a man. All right? There are some men that when they come into their house, everybody runs helter-skelter. Everybody, people hide. His children will be hiding under the bed. His wife will be hiding in the wardrobe because the lion of the tribe of the house has arrived. You cannot afford to leave that kind of legacy for your children. All right? Being mean as a man is not a proof that you are manly. There are many men who are manly and they are not showing it by being mean. They are showing it by taking care of stuff, by doing mighty things, by leaving legacies, positive legacies and positive images in the hearts of people, by creating differences everywhere. They do this by solving the problems of your generation. And you think that the only way you can show that you're a man is by beating everybody, bullying everybody, misbehaving, shouting at people at the slightest provocation. That is not manliness at all. Look at people like Jeff Bezos, they are men. Look at people like Mark Zuckerberg, they are men. Look at people like the President of America, they are all men. And they are changing the entire world, all right? They are not proving that they are men by beating and slapping and being mean to people. All right, so take notes. Capish? Yeah. All right. Number 7 reason why some good girls fall in love with bad boys is because they neglect their gut instincts. All right, they neglect their gut. You see, there is something we have that is called guts. That thing that is inside you that tells you that something is wrong somewhere. All right, many of us neglect it. We call it gut instincts. Whatever it is that you call it, but that's what it means. Something that tells you on your inside, maybe your conscience, whatever, that tells you that something is wrong, that this guy is not right for you, that this person is not right for you, and then you eventually fall for that person. What do you do at that moment? You begin to lie to yourself. Maybe he's not really bad for me. Maybe he's not really evil like that. Maybe he's not really diabolic. You begin to make excuses for him. You begin to make excuses for her. Maybe she's not that. Maybe she's not this. Maybe she's not that. Listen to me. You are falling in love with a bad person because you are making excuses. You are lying to yourself. You're not telling yourself the truth about what that person is doing. So he hits you or he lies to you. So he misbehaves, he lies to you, he cheats on you, and then you lie to yourself. Oh, don't worry, he will come around. Oh, it's just a small mistake. Oh, other people do this too. You keep making excuses for them. Listen to me. If you keep neglecting these red flags, if you keep ignoring these red flags, eventually they will become a very terrible situation in your life. A lot of people are crying today in terrible marriages. You know why they're crying? Because they neglected those early signs. They neglected those red flags, flying around, showing them, oh, something is wrong somewhere. This is not good for you. This is not, you don't need this. This is not good for your life. They neglect all of that. And eventually they get married and say, oh, something told me. Oh, my mind told me that this person was not good. That this person wasn't going to be right for me. Why didn't you listen to your mind? Why were you lying to yourself, covering up for him, covering up for her? All right? So she does something, she's not able to show up, or he's not able to show up for maybe family gatherings or family. Say, oh, don't worry, they were busy, they had an appointment. Meanwhile, this person hates your family. Those little red flags that happen at the beginning are proof and sign that this person is not good for you. So whether you are male or whether you are female, I believe this message will certainly bless you, because it is important that you listen to your gut instincts. Don't lie to yourself. Don't excuse behaviors. All right? There are behaviors that are very toxic, that are very passive in nature. Don't excuse them. I've always told you about the relationship I was into before I met my husband. And in that relationship, the guy was so passive. Very, very passive. Like nothing was happening. I call him, he gives the phone to his siblings, and then they tell me, oh, he's sick, he's not feeling well. He's not in a coma, hey? He's not sick. He's not admitted in the hospital. So he may be sick, but that sickness was not sufficient for him not to answer my call. So I told myself the truth. I couldn't come to the point where I started excusing his behavior or thinking that, well, what he did was okay because he was busy. He couldn't have been busier than, he couldn't have been too busy to reach out to me or to hear what I had to say. So it's important that you listen to your gut instincts and tell yourself the truth on time. Some people say, oh, I've gone too far. I've gone too far in this relationship to quit. And asking you, how far have you gone? A particular lady came to me sometime and I said, Mama, you won't understand. I have gone too far in this relationship. And I asked her, how many years has it been? She said, I have been in a relationship with him for 4 years. And if I start going back now, I don't know where to start from. I said, are you married to him? She said, no. and he's cheating on you, he's beating you, he's taking your money, and also forcing you on top of that. See, I told her, 4 years, you should thank God that you survived these 4 years. Thank God that in 4 years, this relationship will not change from relationship status and entered into marriage. I appreciate God who delivered you. And this is God giving you a second chance, because in that 4 years, some other ladies like you would have gotten married, had 2 children on top of it. So I appreciate God that in those 4 years, He allowed you enough time to see the true evil that this person is, so that you can move on with your own life. Alright, so this is very, very key when we talk about why some good girls fall in love with the bad boys. And remember, like I said, it is not all good girls, it is just some good girls. Alright, so some good girls actually means some good guys, because they are aware of themselves, they are not afraid to be alone, because they have nice fathers who told them that they can become everything that they could be. Alright, I remember the words my father told me when I was growing up. He said a lot of encouraging things, made me believe in myself, made me love myself, told me how beautiful I was. There are some fathers that have never opened their mouth to tell their daughter, you are beautiful. And then the first time they hear it from a stranger, kaboom, they lose their brains, turn upside down. And they begin to fall in love with the bad guy. Because one thing about these bad guys, let me tell you, they even come to those who are married and they know all the right things to say. I've had one like that come to my Facebook. The speed with which I blocked him, if he sees me anywhere else, he will know that he has met one of a kind. They know all the right things to say, and maybe when they begin to talk to you, they'll be telling you all the things your husband was too busy to talk to you about. When they meet you when you're not yet married, they will speak words that will paint a lot of pictures in your mind, paint a lot of pictures in your imagination, and blow your mind. Before you find out what is happening, you're already falling in love with a bad guy. So be careful what you wish for, and what you don't want, cut it off on time. Alright? If you don't want a cancer, what do? You cut it off on time. You make it go away from your life. Because if you begin to tolerate it, you begin to indulge in it, begin to hear, oh, let me hear small, oh, let me hear more messages. Can you send me one other love message? And it's sweeting you. Before long, you'll be like somebody who a very mighty ocean, the wave of the ocean has carried you, and then you are lost. Alright, so be careful what you wish for. Alright, number 8 reason why some good girls marry bad guys is because they are not attentive to how this guy treats others. They are not attentive to how this guy treats others. Alright, they think that all there is to a relationship, all there is to a marriage is just happiness. Did we fall in love just because we want to be happy? If you are not happy with yourself, you cannot be happy in marriage. A lot of people say, oh, I thought that when I'm in this relationship, I'll be too happy, I'll be too smiling. Please, you watch a lot of Z World Cinema and Telemundo. Please calm down, alright? I think a lot of Mills and Boons and love story books have really whacked your brain. Alright, so calm down. The reason why we get married is not to be happy. Because if you're not a happy person on your own, it will be difficult for you to also be happy in marriage. In marriage, you come in. Marriage is like an empty house, alright? Let me use this analogy. Marriage is like an empty house, and whatever you want in this house, you bring it in. Alright, so if you want to enjoy a bed, you bring in the bed. If you want to enjoy a coffee, you bring in coffee. If you want to enjoy a jacuzzi, bring in a jacuzzi and enjoy by all means. What you bring into your house determines what you enjoy in the house. So if you didn't bring in a jacuzzi into your house and then you come out and like, where is my jacuzzi? Your normal bathtub cannot turn into a jacuzzi, alright? So it is what you bring into the house that determines what you enjoy in that house. So if you bring in happiness into your marriage, you will certainly enjoy happiness. You enjoy being happy, being free, and you'll be excited about it because you brought it in. Alright, so don't be an unhappy person, always bickering, always bitter, always having acrimony between yourself and within others, always angry about something, and then you assume that once you fall in love, hey, you become Cinderella and all your days you live happily ever after. It does not work that way. You have to intentionally build up that happiness, alright? And now be attentive about how this guy treats others. Maybe he slaps his sister. Maybe he pushes his mother, talks negatively to the mother. And then you expect that because he's still in love with me, he talks nicely to me. A man who has slapped his sister, a man who has pushed his mother. Your own case, you will end in hot pepper soup. Because if a man could wake up and push his mother, and a man could wake up and be hitting his sister anyhow, you are next in line for an experience. I'm telling you. So don't be deceived. If this person does not treat other people right, he will not treat you right. In the same way, it goes for the female. If you're in a relationship with a lady and she does not treat her mother right, she does not treat her father right, she does not treat her siblings right, she will not treat you right. So be careful. I've seen people say, oh, don't mind my family. My family is so wicked. They hate me so much. They don't like me so much. You are the new family. Very soon, he will be complaining about you to his mistress. Oh, don't worry, my wife hates me so much. She does not like me. She does this and that. This is because this is who this person is. So be careful about how people treat others. If they are rude to the waitress, that where you went to eat at the restaurant, and if they spoke anyhow and very, very disrespectful to the driver, it won't be long. You will be the next in line. It's because the love is still fresh. That is why he's still giving you landing space, so that when you land well into his cabin, into his zone, he will not deal with you. So be careful what you wish for, and be careful what you want, because someone who does not treat others right will certainly not treat you right. So be attentive, all right? Observe how he talks about his family. Observe how he talks about his friends. Observe how he talks about other people. If he's the kind of person that is always talking about what people did, gossiping about people, it won't be long. You become the next topic of gossip. So be very sensitive and attentive to how he or she treats others. Okay, let's continue. I hope you are getting really, really blessed. Start a watch party, subscribe, and make sure you are commenting. Let me know how you have been blessed, what point blessed you the most, and what you're able to learn from this program. All right, so number 9 reason why some good girls fall in love with bad guys is because they believe they are fixers. Hey, Madam Fixer, well done. I hail you. They believe they are fixers, and they think that this man is bad. His mother did not train him well, but just wait. Once me, Emike, if I come into his life, I will change him. I will train him. Please do not deceive yourself, all right? Do not deceive yourself, because you are not a changer. You are not a fixer. You are just a human being, and believe you me, a full-fledged adult whose mother has trained to maturity, you are not going to retrain the person again. You are not going to change the person. This person is already an adult, already full-fledged, already has his character, his attitudes, and his habits, and you can't do anything about it. So for the meantime, he can pretend around you, he can show you who he is truly not, but in the long run, his true personality will manifest. All right, you are not a fixer. You may have watched a lot of Mr. Fixer and Mrs. Fixer films, but see, after watching those movies, just pack them and throw them away. They are not of any benefit to you, because you are not fixing anybody. The only person you can fix is yourself. Somebody who is already damaged goods cannot be somebody that you are waiting to fix. A lot of ladies step into marriage, and they step into marriage to fix a lot of badly raised men. Please, mothers, we have to do better. You know, growing up, we always talk about the girl child. You should sit like this. You should not spread your legs. You should not talk like this. You should walk in a certain way. You should eat in a certain way. You should drink in a certain way. You should do that. We have a lot of rules for the girl child. But what do we do about the boy child? And the boy child, we make the boy child feel that everything is okay. That the boy child can live anyhow. He can do anything. And then because the girl child does not gets pregnant and the boy child does not get pregnant, you think that the girl child should be talked about, should be advised on sex education, and the boy child should not, because after all, he's a man, he's not going to get pregnant. That is wrong. Mothers, let's do better. I have 3 sons, and I'm trusting God and hoping that He will help me to the best of my ability to raise very responsible sons, that when any woman who gets to marry them eventually, that lady will be so grateful to God that I raised my sons well. Please, mothers, let's stop training sons in a way that lackadaisically, that we leave them and hope that girls who have suffered all their lives will come one day and begin to fix for us our sons that we have badly raised. Let's do better. Let's do better. Let's let our sons know that it is never okay to hit a woman, no matter the provocation. Let's let our sons know that they should be responsible when they talk with people. Let's let our sons know that they should respect their elders. Let's let our sons know that when they see somebody who is older than them, they should stand up and greet. Let's teach our sons that to take care of parents is okay. To take care of grandparents is okay. To reach out to their siblings is okay. A lot of things have gone wrong because we did not train our sons well. We need to do better as parents. We need to improve, all right? Let's let our sons, because when we raise these sons well, ultimately, we'll be able to have responsible men in the society. As I'm talking about advocating for raising boys well, I'm also advocating for raising girls well. Let's train our children better, because when we train them better, they will not need fixer husbands or fixer wives, because in reality, nobody fixes anybody. You can only fix yourself if you want to fix. And with that, we come to the end of this telecast, because I'm about to share the last one and the very, very important one. The last point I'd like to share with you on why some good girls eventually fall in love with bad guys is because some ladies have grown up to believe that marriage is truly problematic, and therefore their happiness should be sacrificed to make the marriage work. Can you imagine that? Can you just imagine that? A lot of ladies have believed that marriage is what? Very problematic, that every marriage is a problem. Okay, so their grandparents had problems in marriage, their parents had problems in marriage, so they feel it is okay for them to also have problems in a relationship. So they believe that if this marriage must work, I must sacrifice my happiness. I must sacrifice who I am. I must sacrifice my purposes. I must sacrifice the things that make me happy just to see that the marriage works. And because of that, they end up a life of bondage, a life of slavery. So you see them walking around looking free, but they are really not free, because they are under deep bondage, deep slavery, deep pain and penury. So it is very, very key that we give our children the right perspective of marriage. Marriage is fun. Marriage is sweet. Marriage is enjoyable. Did I say that there won't be times you cry? I'll be lying. Are there times that you won't weep? I'll be lying. Are there times that you will not feel like, oh, I am tired of this? There will be many times. There are many times that you feel like, oh, I don't feel like continuing this marriage. There will be times you feel like, I don't feel like I'm tired of this person I got married to. There will be times when you tell yourself, why did I even get into this marriage in the first place? But ultimately, when you look at the left and look at the right and calculate the good times, when you see that the good times are obviously higher than the bad times, and that tells you that you are doing it well. You may not have done it perfectly, but at least you're on a journey and that you will get it right. Okay? So I'm not saying that marriages don't have problems. Every marriage on earth would have problem at one point or the other. But marriage is not problematic. There are two different things. It is one thing for something to fail. Maybe that the fact that you failed in a particular subject does not mean you are a failure all through. Alright? So it is okay for your marriage to experience one problem or the other, which will eventually heal over time. But that does not mean that marriage itself is problematic and that you have to sacrifice your happiness in order to have a beautiful marriage. So please, this kind of negative, self-limiting beliefs have to be eradicated from your life. Alright? Anything that keeps you down, that makes you feel like you shouldn't fall in love with a good person, that makes you tolerate and accept somebody who is not good for you, should be destroyed from your life. Alright, let me tell you, you deserve more, and you are made for more, and you can become all that you want to be, and you can enjoy marriage at its fullness. It is possible. I believe it is possible. I know it is possible, and I believe that you will have a very sweet and blossoming marriage. Dear good girl, please don't fall in love with a bad guy. Dear good girl, if you are falling in love with a bad guy, I believe by this message, by this telecast, you must have seen that marriage or that relationship is not good for you. And if it is not good for you, you know what to do. Somebody somewhere might be saying, Mama, oh, help us. We have already fallen in love with a bad guy. We are not married yet. If you're not married yet, good news. You can go ahead and find somebody who is good for you, who deserves you, who loves you. Alright? If you are not yet married. But if you're already married, you have to find ways to work at it. Trust God to change the person, because you cannot change that person. Expose him to teachings like this that will make him know that, see what I'm doing, this is exactly what I'm doing. I have to change, because ultimately nobody can change except he or she decides to change by himself. Expose the person to teachings, to messages, to videos like this that will help the person know that I'm not doing well by the person I got married to. And pray, very important. Pray, because the heart of kings is in God's hand and he turns it to whichever direction he will. If you're already married, trust God that God will change your bad guy for you, because you've already made that decision. But I would always put a clause: if this bad guy is threatening your life, is ensuring that your life is short-lived, take a leave, all right? Separate and then work things out so that you don't die in marriage. The God who created you has no plan to die prematurely. God does not have a plan for you to die prematurely. He wants you to live long. So separate for a while and see if you come to his senses. Separate for a while and pray about it. Separate for a while and see if absence will recreate value and desire for you. And if this works, I'll be so delighted. I'll be so glad. Go for therapy. Go for marriage counseling. If you don't know who to go for, please, in the comment section, let me know. I'll inbox you and then we'll do a marriage counseling and a marriage therapy for you. There is always a solution in God. No matter how bad things have gone, there is always a way to fix it. I hope you have really enjoyed this telecast, and I'm sure that God will work things out for you. If you're already in a relationship, God will fix it for you. God will turn things around for you. If you're not yet in a relationship, God will give you the person that deserves you. The person that will treat you right, the person that will love you like you should be loved. And if you're already married and you're married to a bad guy, I pray that God, by his anakazo power, the compelling power of God, that he will turn around the life of that person who is being bad and turn it to good. Because God can do all things. If he can make rivers of water in the desert, he can change one single person. So trust God for the best and keep shining and keep shooting on every side. Until I come your way again, I'd like you to keep making a positive, indelible mark on the lives of people and on the sands of time. Cheers.